Hello everyone, welcome back to Berkey Movies for the spoiler edition of our review of Terminator Dark Fate with myself, Berkey and Kirky. This time we're going to be covering it and going into a lot more detail, and to be honest we're going to be totally letting rip on it because Kirky absolutely hated it and I didn't really like it, so this gives us an opportunity, certainly Kirky, to really give his thoughts on this film, which I know he really didn't like. Kirky, I'm not even going to hold back. Let rip on it. What do you think?
John Connor, the saviour of humanity in most of the other films, is irrelevant. That film made him irrelevant. Dark Fate just killed him off.
For those of you that haven't seen this, or those of you that have seen it, basically John Connor gets killed off in like the first 5 minutes. He just gets shot, right? He just walks up to this
when he's a kid.
When he's a kid, so Arnie. So everything that happened in the first two films about protecting him, they throw out the window, because what they do is Terminator finally got hold of him. They're sitting on a beach in, I can't remember where it was.
It was Mexico,
wasn't it?
Mexico,
so and they've literally goes up, and Terminator comes up. T-800 walks up. Arnie just blows him away, and that's it. And then just strolls off. I mean, it was like, oh, okay. So you're going down that angle of it. It was kind of like a bit weird. I just didn't see the point in it.
They alien freed the film straight away.
You could.
John Connor was Newt from Aliens.
I suppose they kind of wanted to go down that route of just trying something a bit different. And I think what they were trying to achieve. So later on in the film, we see a new character come into it, and I can't remember her name, and I apologise for that. But who's a young female who then becomes like the up-to-date John Connor.
Danny,
that's it. And they kind of just wanted to get rid of John Connor to give her the limelight.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of reviews. So we kind of like listen to reviews of this as well, just so we listen to other opinions, because it's always good to listen to other opinions. And a lot of ones I've heard have talked about a bit of a feminism thing that they've done with this, because it was very much woman orientated. I kind of didn't get that from watching it, but you can kind of see afterwards that they kind of just blew John Connor and went, see you later, and then went, she's the main person. Which was fine. I didn't mind that early doors. It just kind of later on in the film, like Sarah Connor really got on my nerves. Like, everything was very overacted. You can see why she hasn't really acted in quite a while. I had too many roles outside, certainly on the movie screen, since, because I just felt everything was over the top, and I don't know whether it was because she had such a bad script to work with. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh on her, but some dialogue, of the lines, oh my god, like. That bit, there was a bit in the film where she was sitting there, and the what was her name?
Was she talking about her womb?
Talking about womb. She kept going, "They don't want you. You're not. They only want you for your womb." And I was thinking, well, we haven't even established that yet. And rather than someone interject and say, "No, actually, that's not the case," like
they just let her go with it.
They just let her go with it, and she just kind of went on this whole, "They only want you for a womb. You're absolutely nothing," to play her down, and it didn't really need it. Right? There was no need for that to really.
She was strong, heroic, iconic in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, and in this film they just made her moan about women only being important for their breeding. Like, they couldn't be important characters unless they were the saviour of the world, like they were forcing Danny to be. And Grace, I liked Grace at first. I thought that was quite an interesting character, an augmented human.
She was good, because she was kind of reminded me a little bit of, is it Alice from Resident Evil, in that she become that woman who's very, very strong, would beat up a lot of guys, and I really enjoyed her character early on, but it was like she gave up, and like she got to the point where I still remember now saying, "We don't fight this, we run from it. We keep running." And I'm thinking, is that your plan? Your plan then was to get sent back in time and run away forever against this shape-shifting Terminator that had the power to be able to do pretty much like connecting to anything and find out where they were going all the time. And I just got a bit bored of that. It was just like, there was really, I'll tell you a key point really annoyed me. So they went, "We need to stay off the radar, so what we'll do is we'll go through Mexico." I know you're thinking, but I'm looking at it in a bit more of there's a bit more to it than that, in that they went, "We'll stay off the radar." So I'm thinking, right, it's a good plan, staying off the radar, doing that. But that Terminator literally hacked into everything and saw where they were going, despite the fact their plan was to stay off the radar, which they did. So in other words, nothing they did could get away from it, and that kind of got my nerves because it just.
That was the way. That was the hook to introduce Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator.
Yes,
into it, though, wasn't it? Without them crossing the border, they couldn't have met up with him and his amazing text messages that he was sending to Sarah Connor, giving her the exact times and locations.
It's funny.
Terminators were going to come from the future back to a particular point in time.
It's funny because it's not until we're reviewing this now I'm thinking of more bits in it and thinking about how bad something. And we're almost glossing over bits that were so bad, and we're forgetting them. So another bit I remember is the bit that I was going to say was the bit where she goes. Basically, they decide we've got to go through Mexico. They've got to go to Mexico to go to this place where the text messages come from. The text messages, basically Sarah Connor was receiving text messages of where the Terminators were going to be coming in, and Sarah would turn up at those locations of where the text messages were saying they would be, and she'd kill them off. So she was basically just a Terminator hunter. And what happened was they then worked out the map location of this through, what's her name again? Grace, through Grace, because she had a little map on her, little coordinates on her stomach. So they go to this location of where the text is being sent. And it was someplace in Mexico, so they have to cross the border to go to Mexico to go and find out. There was Arnie that had been sending them. Well, there was that scene where she goes to see her uncle. Her uncle can get her smuggled across Mexico, and so they're sitting in this room, and he
doesn't know most of them.
He doesn't know it. Well, he only knows her, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and by this point, they kind of gloss over the fact that her brother and dad are dead. They completely gloss over that. Goes so. And she was basically saying, well, look, this machine's after me. He's killed dad and brother, and I need to get to Mexico. And he goes, okay, well, and he initially thinks, I want to protect you. I don't want this to happen. And she goes, no, I've got this machine that's after me, and this machine that's helping me. I need to get to Mexico. And he basically, in a second, just goes, okay. And then it's like ridiculous. Like in an instant, he just takes her over there to Mexico. It's like everything's glossed out, every little bit where they can go deeper into a character. She's just had her dad killed by this thing. She had her brother killed in front of her in this car crash. Basically watched him die. And apart from a very brief scene in the hotel room where she has a little bit of a breakdown, it's never mentioned again. She just cracks on with it. It's like as if it never happened. And there was so much opportunity for character development. I really would have liked to see Sarah Connor want to protect her, and she did hint on the fact she wanted to protect her because she was John. She saw her son in her, but she was so angry all the time that you never really felt that connection.
Well, that's the thing. Sarah Connor did make it clear that she wanted to protect Danny. However, there was some forced conflict where Grace, for whatever reason, really hated her.
Yep.
And said about wanting to punch her in the face. At this point, Sarah Connor had come along and saved them.
Yep. Yeah.
Looked after them. Was coming up with plans. Yet Grace hated her.
Yeah.
And I can't understand why.
No, it was just there was so much opportunity for them to really get along with each other, or just to see some character development. But they kind of just glossed over it all. And then when Arnie turns up and has the most ridiculous backstory ever, in that basically what they say with him is, what he says is that after he killed John, his mission was over, so he got an opportunity just to spend a bit of time by himself essentially and find himself
hanging around with a mum and son and dog,
and decided, and then he realised what love was,
and he hung drapes, made drapes.
Yeah, he got a job, and he'd basically become domesticated, and he kind of enjoyed it, and he saw what he'd been missing.
Some of the funniest bits of the film did involve Arnie, though.
Yeah, massively.
His efficiency for changing diapers.
Yeah.
I liked that. So there's a few things in the film that I did like, but
he was
doesn't
great.
sustain
Listen,
a whole film.
When he's on the screen, it's a lot better. It's just more enjoyable.
Other than when he says, "I won't be back."
Yeah, yeah. So you get
when he and ahs whether or not to put sunglasses on. just so what?
Yeah, I mean, he did make it a lot better. Again, I would have gone for a 1 out of 5 if it weren't for him. He just knocked out that little time, because if he had not been in it as a standalone film without him in, I would have hated it. I would have absolutely hated it. Like, even more so, I don't even know if I could have given it a star. It was so bad.
I feel sorry for Linda Hamilton. I think she did the best she possibly could do with the dialogue that she was given.
Yeah.
And the forced conflict between her and Grace.
Yep.
I felt sorry for her.
She was
let down.
She was so angry. Like, and I get, like, and I know people might be watching this thinking, yeah, but she had her son killed in front of her 30 years ago. But we forget of how strong a character she was in 1 and 2. And so she represented, and yes, she'd be angry over what had happened. But then I just thought that whole maternal instinct would have come over to look after Danny, but instead, which she did, but she was just so angry. It was like every line was said with such venom all the time, and I'll never get over that bit where she said about the womb thing. It was ridiculous, and it sort of set it up for the future, that you knew that she weren't just there just as a woman, for example, just to give birth. They teased it that she was going to be some form of, you know, leader of a rebellion in the future, and you sort of knew that was coming, because they spent so much time going, she's a woman, she's got no use in the future, and banging that drum, that you knew that weren't going to be the case, because you knew, but they didn't need to do that. It was just they should have just done the same as what they did in the earlier ones, and just say, this is your role in the future, you're a leader of the rebellion, we need to keep you alive. But I think it was she said to her that Grace said to her, I couldn't tell you that early on, because you wouldn't know how to deal with it. But a day later, when she's been through everything, she's clearly ready. So it was just...
Yeah, they explained that with some quality exposition. So the villain Terminator is called a Rev 9. It did look pretty cool.
Mm.
It was amazing if you're a 14-year-old boy. It reminded me a lot of the Terminatrix, it was called, in Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, which I don't think you've seen.
No, I've not seen. No.
Where it was metal endoskeleton underneath liquid metal.
Yep.
Except the Rev 9 could split in two.
Yep.
And function almost equally well, be twice as deadly.
Yep.
Other than it did become a little bit weaker because it didn't have a skeleton, or it became a bit weaker because it didn't have the shape-shifting ability when it was the robot part of it. I did find the attack on the where they weren't prisoners, whether they were detainees.
On the Mexican border.
On the Mexican border. That was quite cool. It was in the trailer. He made a joke about my whole body being a weapon when he was going to set off the metal detectors.
Yeah.
I liked that, but it just became more of the same, them running away from him. It was so much chasing in this film. It just did too much. Yeah,
especially when you think of the very beginning, where you kind of see them two face off and have a good fight. And she's equal, isn't she?
She said, I thought she was his equal.
Grace kind of like is there to defend her. I mean, the whole thing with her to inject herself with some white stuff got a bit...
I didn't mind that, but
annoying,
I just felt that they gimped her as soon as Sarah Connor turned up.
Yep.
She was doing really well, like saving Danny and her brother from the factory.
Yep.
And then Danny's brother died, but she still saved Danny. It looked like she could put up a decent fight.
Yeah.
But she just suddenly stopped being badass.
Yeah, until the last scene, till the very last scene when she got good again. And she was fighting quite well.
Yeah, but she wouldn't have been able to do that without Sarah Connor and T-800.
No,
that's
Terminator. True. But early on, you think she's a really good fighter, and you think she could probably, she did put up a good fight, but she just kind of seemed to get a bit weaker as the film went along in that sense.
The plot depowered her for some reason.
Yeah. It gave a backstory to everybody, which was okay. But it was just so glossed over, wasn't it? And there was just so many... it was as if they just used it to just set up Danny as onto the next generation of Terminators, or films, if they're going to make more, which I hope they don't. But it's as if they used her for that reason, just to set up a new kind of character going forward as to where they were going to go with it. I was a bit confused with the timeline. I'm not going to go into that too much because anytime time travel's involved, it's always a bit complicated. And as I haven't seen the last two, it probably wouldn't be fair of me to try and understand. Like, so for example, at the end of the
last
film,
two the last three films don't matter.
Because
of this film, it's undone them. Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines didn't happen. Terminator Salvation has not happened because John died as a kid.
Yeah.
And Terminator 3 doesn't work because John died as a kid.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're just going down a different timeline then.
And the last one, Terminator Genesis, that's not happened either because John became a Terminator in that film, as you do. So not a fan at all. Some of the CGI was decent. The de-aging was all right.
I loved the fight scenes with T-800. Really enjoyed them. It was nice to see him, but he was so straightforward. Everything with him was I'm going to beat it up and I'm going to do this, and he was just a very the fight scenes I just enjoyed. So once he come into it, apart from the bit where they're in the plane in the sky, then they come out of in some sort of RV and then they end up in the water, and it was so over the top. I mean, how she didn't die in that, I don't know, but that was very, very over the top. But I just loved the bits with the T-800. The last fight scene I thought was very good. I thought the way they killed it off was a bit it's kind of a bit obvious, taking something out of Grace's body then to use the power source to kill him off, and Arnie holding him down. But that was it really. Last 10-15 minutes were great. The first 10-15 minutes were quite good. The rest of it was just terrible. Plot is ridiculous, and I don't know much more we can say about it really.
No. Please subscribe, follow us on Twitter, comment on Twitter, and once we've got 100 subscribers, we will randomly pick someone to win 2 tickets.
So that's it from us, guys. Don't forget, 2.5 out of 10 this film. Not a good one. Next up for us this Friday is Dr. Sleep. Now this is kind of the opposite for me, whereas Kirky was really weren't looking forward to this one, whereas Terminator I didn't mind. Whereas this, I've seen the trailer, I've got no hopes whatsoever.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I appreciate it was a book, but I just don't see how you can follow up from The Shining. Or if you were going to follow it up, there's a certain way of doing it.
Stephen King disagrees with you.
He does, yeah, but he's going to write a book, isn't he? So,
famous author him.
Exactly. Listen, I hated it too. So I have.
I liked it.
I know you did. I know. No, I don't have much faith in this, but hopefully this will be a film that we can both agree on, and hopefully give it a good score. But that's
doesn't matter if we agree or not, does it?
No, I know. But it'd be nice to see something at the high ratings for once. But it's 2.5 hours. This film, Dr. Sleep. I'm dreading it.
Well, Jumanji #2, the sequel with The Rock, that's coming out.
Yes.
We'll probably like that.
Yeah. Yep. That's a fair point actually. That'll be coming up. But yes, guys, we'll be seeing that on Friday. So I expect another video out on Tuesday. But once again, thank you for viewing us. Thank you for subscribing. And we shall catch you next week. See you later, guys.